Does everybody know what time it is? Time for a Dumb Sports Podcast. All right, on today's show, we've got some great stuff going on. We're getting things started today with the Dumb Sports Predictions. What are we hoping to see in this upcoming Jordan docuseries? Matt, you have Jordan tatted literally all over your body and are insane when it comes to his worship. So why don't you go first? What are you hoping to see in this Jordan docuseries?
Yeah, I just want to see some explicit things. I want to see what Steve Kerr said to get punched in the face. I want to see the airplane gambling. I want to see things that were normally blurred or bleeped out in regular, like ESPN or whatever kind of broadcast you would see. I want to see the dirt.
All right. Let's swing it around. T, what are you thinking?
I think that I'm most interested in, kind of like Matt said, I'm really interested in the gambling stuff. I'm also really interested to see what sort of parties he was attending during this championship run. I know that just looking at, how fun the celebration on the court was for them, that off the court, it was probably the most insane party of all time. And I want to see every single one of them. Outside of that, it's just bonus. So mainly just the gambling and the partying.
All right, Sean, what are you thinking?
So my wife doesn't want to speak right now, but she had made a comment that she really hopes to see Bugs Bunny and Lola Bunny, and how it was traveling via golf hole to Toontown. That was pretty sweet. She's hoping to get some behind-the-scenes footage of that. Hoping a documentary crew was able to follow them as well, but I told her that was before The Last Dance, so I highly doubt it. But for me personally, I'm a fan. Kobe Bryant and Michael Jordan are both known for being pretty ruthless competitors. And I have zero problem. It might be a revelation to some. I got no problem with it. But I'm curious to see the fallout from when people see Jordan ride people and some of the things that I'm sure he did. And definitely not PC in today's world. Definitely not Steph Curry. And he's going to be brutal. He's going to be angry. He made Steve Kerr cry. So you're going to see – I'm curious to see how people feel about Jordan post him riding dudes harder than is typically allowed.
I mean, I didn't say X-rated. I just wanted a little explicit content.
Right. So my question for you guys is, so how bad do you actually think that footage is going to be of him riding people? Because if he's already come out and said he's a little nervous about just being portrayed negatively, I guess, I don't know, maybe those weren't his exact words or thought, but I mean, do you think it's going to be like much more severe than what Kobe was, or?
I'm scared to death that it's going to look like Phil Jackson turned Michael Jordan into a serial killer, Charles Manson style.
I don't think
you could just wait to listen to Phil being like, dude, Michael, Steve Kerr just said that your jumper looks weak compared to where it was 4 years ago. Little things like that. Like, Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant both came out and said that Phil Jackson always would push their buttons when he wanted them to play their best. And that's the thing I'm looking forward to kind of seeing, is that psychological edge. But yeah, I'm curious to see how much that plays into how good or how bad Michael Jordan comes off. Because if
what would be interesting, like going off of that, how, like, where was this camera crew? Because I mean, from the books that I've read and such, they had practice at Jordan's house a lot. Like, the whole team would practice at his house. So it's like, were they there as well, or were they just the facilities? And so it's like, if they were at both, is there a difference in the way people act at each place?
Did you guys see the first 5 minutes that has already been posted? ESPN had posted on social media the 5 minutes from whatever episode. I just want to see if that general manager that they were talking about in that first 5 minutes is actually the Mr. Swackhammer from Space Jam, if that's who that character was based on, because that guy looks exactly he's not green, but
it is. Right. It is 100%. Like, from the book that I read, it talks about him a lot, and it is 1,000% that.
Yep. Yeah, green with envy, that guy, and especially when they were drawing him like he wanted to be the one to cause the success. He's got like this hyper little man syndrome, and stupid, dumb. I hope it was based off of him. I really do.
If you had to take a guess right now, on how much money was bet on the average flight for that team when they went on a road trip, how much are you thinking? Like, how many mortgages could you pay off just
Wait, how much was
from,
bet?
say, Los Angeles to Chicago?
2 to 3 easy. I'm saying anywhere between 100 to 300K per. The
Yeah,
flight down
same.
and the flight back, easy.
I mean, what was an average salary back then, though?
That's
Doesn't matter.
a good
Jordan's
question.
ruthless. He'd do it to his own guys.
Well, no, I get that, but I'm just saying, like, as far as like adding money up, like, what was an average player's salary on there? You know, because weren't they just really low millions?
I think your
Compared
average
to
player
today?
was in the lower millions, but I believe Michael Jordan was making 30 million.
Yeah, I know he was for those last 3 years,
So
and I think that's
I
what it's
mean,
covering most of.
I'll still stick with the 1 to 3 mortgages per plane trip. So if you're looking at houses being like 80 to 200 back then, I'm still saying that. I'm saying 50 to 150 on a normal day. And if it gets real
Yeah.
wild and competitive and people are feeling themselves, I'm saying that hits 300 easy.
Yeah.
Guaranteed.
yeah, I agree. All right, we're going to go ahead and move on from Jordan and the Bulls. We're going to talk about stimulus checks now that we're talking about paying the mortgage. So if you got your stimulus check, that nice fine $1,200, thanks to Uncle Sam, who's one player you think you could add to your team that could actually make a difference or contribute in some way that would only cost you $1,200? T, you got something for us?
I do. I have a few thoughts, and I've thought about this a lot over the last like 20 minutes when we were talking, just before the show of what was going to happen. I could probably, just, replace the money that this guy owes me. But Antonio Brown owes me $100 in cash because he absolutely wrecked this season. Had he been there, I think, the Raiders go, 7-9 this year. If he was there, they probably would have gone 8-8, 9-7, so pretty big jump because he would have caught like 4 touchdowns. I could easily get him off the scrap heap right now for $1,200, but I'm going to go ahead and go with Des Bryant. I'm actually pretty shocked that he is not signed. I know that he's kind of a basket case. However, if I could see him 16 games a year in silver and black next year, like I would definitely pay $1,200 for that. I think that he could play a, like a Michael Crabtree role, like a few years ago when he was in Oakland. But I would pay the money for Des Bryant for sure.
All right, Sean, what are you thinking? Who would you like to add to the Cowboys for $1,200?
I'll go with the Lakers. And if I was going with the Lakers for $1,200, I would add Delonte West because it looks like he needs the $1,200, number one. But that would be, and he positively impact your team. LeBron James is really good at the mental side of it, so he could show Kyle Kuzma that hey, if you don't get it together and don't play some defense, you're gonna be on the sidewalk getting beat up and finding yourself on TMZ and catching a stimulus check from jabroni.
How do you think that father-son combo would play out, though, there with the Lakers? Do you think that they're mentally strong enough to put up with something like that?
They better be. Because if nothing else, you're going to be able to see a big example of what happens if you fizzle out. Like, you're either going to step in line, you're going to show up, you're going to practice, and you're going to do what I want, or, which is sit in the corner and hit a 3, or you're going to be ending up on the streets, freaking, again, on TMZ, missing a tooth after some dude punched you in the face. So I'll give him that $1,200 to fix his grill, and I'd love to see him on the Lakers bench collecting himself, at least a playoff berth if and when that ever happens, if the NBA comes back. But that would be where I'd spend my stimulus check. I think it's a safe bet that he would take it gladly, and I think there could be some lesson to be learned for the younger guys on that team, on what would happen if you don't fall in line and ain't a professional.
Matt, who are you looking at? $1,200.
All right, here's what's going to happen. I'm going to take that $1,200 and I'm going to find and purchase the finest marijuana that I can find. And I'm going to call up Ricky Williams, and he's coming back to Miami, baby. Even if it's not for the skill, just the name value, it's going to put some butts in seats. That's all I'm looking for, the name value. That's what's going to happen.
I think I'm going with Jamal Charles or LaShawn McCoy. I think even maybe Frank Gore, although I think Frank Gore is going to make more than $1,200 this year. But some guys who want to keep their career going, have a little left in the tank, and frankly would be just a nice threat to have as your number 5 back. Just somebody who you can put in, like, worst case scenario, you get a couple injuries, have him play a couple games while somebody, heals up a little bit, and then bam. Like, I don't know why Jamal Charles can't keep a job right now, but the last time we saw that guy handling a full season, he was tearing it up. And that might be the problem, is that he got tore up the last time we saw him play. So.
Yep.
All right, moving on. You have to bet your stimulus check on one team to win a championship in any of the major sports in the upcoming season. Which team do you pick? You can't pick the Chiefs, Lakers, or Astros for some reason.
That one's tough. Most sports, there's really not a clear favorite. If you minus those 3.
I'm going with the Dodgers. Like, if
That's a
I
good
have to
pick.
put money on anybody, I'm going Dodgers hands down right now.
That's a safe pick.
T, where are you going? $1,200.
$1,200. I was thinking Dodgers. I really, really like the Yankees as well. I think that they're going to get it together. I really, really think, though, that if I had to, I'm going to go with the Milwaukee Bucks. For some reason, I think that they got the easiest path when it comes to getting through their conference. And then once they get to the finals, you got Clips, like whoever it is that's coming out. I would take my chances with the Bucks, though, for sure.
Are we talking with NBA? Are we talking about like the current season that's been paused, or like potentially next year?
Sure. Either way, just give us something.
All right, so I'm going with the Warriors for next year because I'm sticking with my prediction that Giannis is going to lose in the finals, and then he's going to join the Warriors, and that's going to give me better odds to bet on the Warriors at least 40-1, and I'm going to cash out the most.
All right. John, what are you thinking?
Yeah, I'm putting $1,200 on the Astros because I totally believe their owner when they say that the knowing what pitch was coming didn't help them at all. If you look at Jose Altuve's playoff numbers from when they were on the road to when he was at home, they're basically identical. It's not like a 400-point batting average swing or anything like that. And it's not like Clayton Kershaw was basically, he was a harmless person when they were pitching in the Astros. So in my mind, I'm thinking that the Astros are going to be just fine. Their on-base percentage is going to be out of control no matter what. So, I think the Houston Astros will be in prime position to go back to the World Series and cash out. I've got a fair amount of money saying that they're going to do it and that there was no competitive advantage. Go Astros.
So going right along with that, Kershaw threw 51 off-speed pitches in Game 5 of the 2017 World Series. The Astros had exactly 0 swing and a miss attempts.
Completely legitimate. I see no problem with that. Clearly, there was no competitive advantage there. So I think it's totally cool. Like, whatever. That's what the owner said. I believe it. I've read it on the internet, so it's obviously true.
All right. We'll keep going. Next up, which movie plot from a sports movie would actually be the biggest disaster for sports if it happened just like it does in the movie? T, it looks like you've got something you'd like to say.
As much as I know and truly believe that the racism in Remember the Titans would just not sit well in 2020, I'm going to have to go with a little bit of a twist on one. This is probably one of the worst sports movies ever made. However, I like it. Like, I would put it right up there with, like, I don't know, like I said before, Remember the Titans, Friday Night Lights. Some of you guys may not have seen this movie, but I'm going to go ahead and go with Joanna Man. For those of you who have never seen Joanna Man, let me just go ahead and read the plot summary here. So when pro basketball star Jamal Jeffries, who's played by Miguel A. Nunez, you might know from Kicking It Old School or Harlem Nights, he gets booted from the big leagues after an outrageous on-court stunt. His unwillingness to give up the sport leads to desperate measures. So dressed in drag, Jamal calls himself Joanna Man and becomes a star player on a women's basketball team. I don't think I need to read the rest of the summary because I think you guys can see where this is going. Next movie. Yep. Next movie. Anyone go next?
I'll take it.
Oh,
I'm gonna go
go ahead.
with either of the children movies, like Rookie of the Year or like Mike, like children with crazy talent and like magical powers, quote unquote. Because I feel like just either of those is just gonna cause major problems, whether it's with child labor laws or whether it's just people arguing should they play, should they not be able to play. It's just gonna cause all kinds of arguments.
Charles, what are your thoughts on that?
So I agree 100%. I think both of those movies have major issues for the NBA and MLB if it actually happens. I think if a kid goes from being a kid off the street to throwing a 105-mile-an-hour fastball by hurting his shoulder, you're going to see a lot of parents having accidents where their kid just magically has that same shoulder injury. And a lot of dark alley surgeons are going to start getting phone calls from parents who want their kid to be a pitcher in the major leagues. I also think if some sneakers can make anybody into Michael Jordan just because he wore them, then all of a sudden Michael Jordan shoes are going to start selling for millions of dollars, and they're going to be forced onto people from who knows how young. The NBA could turn into a bunch of 15-year-olds playing basketball just because somebody found Michael Jordan's old stash at his house or something.
Yep. Well, and I would see a business opportunity there. Speaking of little kids breaking arms and making them throw 105, in my mind, you're either half win or half lose, right? So if everybody's a little half win and everybody's a little half lose, shout out to Rookie Year. Well, then I gotta know your son. So fight this down real hard and crack that sucker back into place and pray to God you're all the Chapman. But that's a lot of money to be made, and I don't blame the parents for doing it. As a parent myself, I think that's a worthy sacrifice of your child that you're going to live vicariously through. So instead of yelling at a middle, he was that good. If I'm going to be yelling at anyone, it's going to be my own child for not making the mega coach's son. So I'm all for it. I say we do it. Find some hair, and you're good to go. I like it.
Sean, it sounds like you're a little busy out there. Is there a reason why your connection's cutting out a little bit? Are you out doing some work for the pod by chance?
I actually am. So what you guys don't know right now is we've started to do some light scouting, and I'm on the road right now, heading to Vegas, and it looks like the apocalypse, and it's very weird and very scary, and I feel like I should be riding a horse trying to find a tank. So this is just dead dumb sports podcast out here, trying to give everyone some good news or any news other than just we're all going to die from COVID-19. So now that I'm out and about and have said some things that probably are going to get me in trouble, I'll just send it back to you guys live here out in the middle of nowhere desert near Vegas with Dumb Podcast Sports. Back to you guys.
All right, we'll go ahead and move on to our next topic. So in honor of the NFL draft coming up fast, and just to remind everyone that draft grades are stupid and nobody has any idea what they're talking about, who would you take from the undrafted quarterback ranks of Tony Romo or Kurt Warner?
Well, when I think undrafted QBs, for some reason, the first dude that always comes to mind is Jeff Garcia, which he may or may not have been drafted. I'm not even sure if that's correct. I don't know. Will somebody look that up? Somebody find out if he was drafted or if he was undrafted. But if it comes down to just these two, I really think that Kurt Warner rode that Super Bowl run that they made. And it was a great season. I think that was this year that he had like 41 touchdowns or something stupid like that. After that, he had a good run with Arizona there, but in comparison with Tony Romo, I think Tony Romo was just much more consistent. I also have to lean Tony Romo because he does, now that I have 6 seasons worth of Derek Carr stats and tape. Kind of reminds me of my boy DC. So I'm gonna go ahead and go Tony Romo. The consistency. I like his arm too a little bit more than I like Warner, so I'm going Romo all day.
Sean, you're a Romo guy. Who you taking, Tony Romo or Kurt Warner?
I'm an enormous Romo guy, and I'm taking Tony Romo, and it's not even because I'm a homer. It's because no matter the talent that was around him, whether he had 3 seconds to throw or 0.3 seconds to throw, he was always money. I know he's got a big old thing on his career for throwing late game interceptions, but those teams aren't even in the running. They're not even close to winning a game if he doesn't ball out. And you look at the amount of receivers and the different type of personnel that he had, guys like Lawrence Robinson, which nobody outside of a Google machine knows who that is, was able to get him a 1,000-yard season. He was able to compete, complete passes, make Pro Bowls, be MVP finalist with anybody that he had as a receiver core. In contrast to Kurt Warner, when he was the greatest show on turf, he had literally almost the entire offensive system that he had is either Hall of Fame worthy or Hall of Fame eligible or in the Hall of Fame, with Isaac Bruce, Torrey Holt, and Marshall Faulk in his backfield. And then on the other side of that, you had, when he was in Arizona going back to the Super Bowl, you had Anquan Bolden and Larry Fitzgerald. And I believe Edgerrin James in the backfield. So when, just like anybody else, if you have a ton of weapons and talent around you, it makes you that much better. And Romo had gone through a couple running backs. He'd gone through a couple of receivers. I mean, the only mainstay in his offense really was Jason Witten throughout his career, from coming in with Bill Parcells all the way to the end. So poor Tony Romo, I've always wished he had a full complement of weapons and a line, and I wish he could have stayed healthy because we got to see what that kind of looked like once. But yeah, I'm a Romo guy through and through, and I love me some Kurt Warner. But if I'm drafting somebody, I'm taking me some Tony Romo. Love that guy.
Yeah, there's just it's an argument over whether you want longevity or you want a higher peak. For me, I know Kurt Warner had better tools, but at the same time, I also think you can argue that Kurt Warner was better at making the most of what he had when he had it. And I think that's kind of where I would go. I think the NFL is all about winning big every once in a while. Not every team can be the Patriots or the Steelers. There's a lot of teams out there that if they can get 1 or 2 years to be really good, they'll take that chance every single time. That's basically what the New York Giants are and have been. And I feel like you're more likely to do that with a Kurt Warner than you are with Tony Romo. All right, so we're going to go ahead and move on. Let's see. Looks like we've got a sponsor. Let's go ahead and get paid. Just kidding. We don't get paid for anything.
Don't get paid for anything. And if there's anybody who knows me, they know, one of the things that T loves the most, it's cold cut sandwiches. It's partying. And it is supporting women in the workforce. So the company that I wanted to talk to you guys about today, first things first, women make up 70% of the labor force in Uganda, yet rarely get the chance to bring their own products to the market. 23 Women is a real story of real women who saw the need to join together, work hard, and deliver the best coffee their country could offer. Rated the #1 coffee in Uganda at the AFCA Taste of Harvest competition, these women produce some of the best coffee in the whole world. They are the exception and an inspiration to the other women of their culture, growing the specialty coffee of their own land and bringing it to the world market themselves. You can buy this at kaboom.org. That is kaboom, KABUM.org. Please support these Ugandan women in the workforce. Love supporting women. Can't stress that enough. I just love supporting women in business. Go buy this coffee.
All right, thank you so much. We're going to go ahead and move on to everybody's favorite segment, our dumb sports news. Christian McCaffrey became the highest paid running back of all time earlier this week. If you could take one person in your life who you have already paid money and make them the highest paid person doing whatever their job is, who would it be and why?
That's easy for me.
All right, Matt, who are you talking about?
I'm giving it to my tattoo artist. We've already talked about my tattoos earlier in the pod. They all look fantastic. He's a fantastic dude. And right there, that's where it's going.
If I get one choice, this place actually has gone out of business. However, it's probably one of my top 3 favorite places in the entire world. A lot of good memories there. I'm going to go ahead and go with the owner of Teasers on the corner of 36th Street and Washington Boulevard. Spent a lot of good nights watching Monday Night Football there. The bingo night incredible. I ruin bingo for people more often than I'd like to admit. But I would really like to see that place back in business. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to make them the highest paid bar owners in the United States. Done and done.
Nice. Well, as you guys know, and as people will find out, I am a massive caffeine consumer and quite the connoisseur of different flavors, companies, beverage types, whatever. But there is a particular beverage, it's the company that I wish would have capitalized on high caffeine content a long, long time ago. And I've been drinking them since '05. It's a company called Spike. Spike Energy. I would make them. I would try and like have them buy out, go WWE style, buying out WCW, and take over Monster and take over Rockstar, and just be the freaking goats when it came to energy drinks. They were the first ones with BCAAs. They were the first ones with more than just caffeine. It was basically a pre-workout mixed with cocaine, sparkled. So in my mind, you could only get them also at 7-Eleven. So if you weren't getting them at GNC, you were getting them at 7-Eleven. So I would make Spike Energy Drinks the number one provider and money maker of energy drinks worldwide.
So growing up, behind my house was a gas station, and my entire life I would go up to this gas
The
station
corner
at
store.
about 9:45 to get all the food that was about to be thrown in the garbage at a reduced price, right? Because at 10 o'clock, all that food went straight from their hot plate over to the garbage can. So me and my friends used to go. We'd go wait out and get the stuff, and this corner store had the best corn dogs in the history of the world. And when I was, I think, 13 years old, we had a guy give us 13 corn dogs for like $3. And if I could give, whatever money to make that person the highest paid corner store, high school kid of all time, it's going to that guy as a payback for what he did for us, because, man, those corn dogs went a long way. And I just want to say thank you. So if you're listening, wherever you are, thank you so much. All right, we'll go ahead and keep things moving. So the Browns released their new jersey design this week. What is one thing from your past that you wish you could do or that you did and wish nobody noticed or cared about?
This one haunts me to this day. Now, as most people listening, we are all fantasy football players here. And we all play fantasy football together, the four of us and some others. And my very first year ever playing fantasy football was with these gentlemen who were already experienced veterans, of course. I didn't know what I was doing. And I happened to luckily draft Darren McFadden that year. This is the year we're talking about. Wait, was it McFadden? He was. Oh, it was Murray. Yeah, it was DeMarco Murray for the Cowboys. That's what it was. And he was the number one running back by a mile. A mile. This dude was dominating. I had no idea what was happening. Well, this was also Peyton Manning's fantastic year. And I decided it'd be a smart idea to get the quarterback. So I went and traded DeMarco Murray for Peyton Manning just to make the playoffs, because I thought quarterbacks were valuable then. I made the playoffs, but the guy that I traded him to won the title. And everybody has not stopped giving me crap about that to this day.
For a little background, the guy who traded Peyton Manning had been riding his bench the entire season because he had Aaron Rodgers, who was scoring more points for him. And so he basically was able to combine that Aaron Rodgers, Jordy Nelson combo with DeMarco Murray and obliterate everyone else, thanks to Matt deciding 6th place was more important than 7th place. So,
Yep, that was my first year.
It actually makes a lot of sense why you'd want everyone to forget that. So,
yeah.
Well, especially the person who ended up winning that league. If I remember correctly, it was one of the 3 people in this world that you don't want winning anything over you. And I think he did it in severely dominating fashion too. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yep. Right on. Cool.
And he definitely shouldn't have, and he wouldn't have if it wasn't for me.
Yeah, and he seems like the type that would exploit a person like that and not have any qualms about it either. He's pretty cutthroat in just about anything he does.
All right, let's keep things moving. I guess I can go ahead and I'll share something from my past. When I was in elementary school, and this isn't even something I did, it was something that I was just a sibling to. My brother at a choir concert threw up from the third row over the top of everyone in front of him. And I was in a classroom because I was younger than him, so our choir wasn't up yet. And someone comes running to the classroom door and they say, Charles, Charles. And I say, what's going on? They say, your brother just puked over everyone. The concert's canceled. And I was in a room with about 20 other kids who were all furious at me that the concert was now canceled and we didn't even get a chance to sing because my older brother had puked over about 12 other kids, causing a chain reaction of vomit. As you can imagine, from children from the ages to 9 to 11 in just an elementary school gym. So yeah, that's one thing that I wish nobody had noticed or remembered or cared about.
Yeah, that is awesome. I'll go with mine, and then I'll let T kind of wrap it up. But mine involves I'm a big gambler. I'm competitive, and I do a lot of, like, if I get challenged, I'm somebody you can goad into doing a lot of dumb things, because if you offer it in ways of like saying you can't, I will probably go over the top and try and be out of control just to prove that I can do something. Well, this one, for me, I play blackjack, and where we live, you still get 3-2 odds on blackjack, and you can actually still play single deck, which is very rare. But what I would do is, take $50, 10 red chips, and try and turn it into 20 red chips. And I got pretty good at it and was like, you know what? I'm going to take 10 green chips, being $25. I'm going to try and turn it into 20 green chips. One of the things I've always wanted to do is to take 10 black chips, which are $100, try and turn that into 20. Well, I was on a golfing trip, and I don't partake in spirits very much, but I already am a pretty amped up, energetic person, and I'm nuts. So, $1,000 might not seem like a lot to a lot of people, and that's cool. But I took out $1,000 and thought, let's do this. And within 10 minutes, I had lost $1,200 of my own money before I even had a chance to check into a hotel room. That was probably one of the dumbest things I'd ever done. My wife quickly thereafter saw that there was that money had taken out, thought that was going to be for the weekend. Nope, that wasn't even for the day. Couldn't feed myself. And I basically had to, I did it again. Like, I think that trip cost me almost $2,000 for it was dumb. It was not smart, because I hadn't even paid for any of my golf, hadn't had the opportunity to pay for the room I was staying in. And yeah, lost $1,200 stimulus check style within 10 minutes. Maybe I think the real time with the guys that were there, I think was less than 15 minutes, right around that mark. So that's something I wish I'd have never done. Definitely regret it. But yeah, that was very dumb of me to do on a 6-deck blackjack. So
six-decker? That's rough.
Dude, 6-decker with the shoe, you've got nothing.
That hurts my heart.
See, even for everyone that likes the card count, you can't see how much of the shoe's gone. They're putting the stuff back in one of those, you put the cards to the side and it goes back in the table type deal. You got nothing. So you have no idea how many hands you've played. You have no idea how heavy something is. You're just freaking swinging and hoping to God you hit. And yeah, I mean, I was playing like 3 hands wide. So there was one hand I played $400, at 200 on one, 200 on the other. So I'm already breaking a cardinal sin, putting 40% of my bankroll on the table on the second hand.
No-go. That's a no-go.
Oh, dude, bad. So that was what really got me, under early, was I put $400 on the table and one hand was gone. Did it again, was like, screw it, I've got nothing to lose. I was like, win one, basically pushing. But that lasted all of 10, 15 minutes, and then withdrew another 200. Was like, screw it, all in, see what happens on the $200 hand. Gone. And I just was sick. So
that stomach feeling, that knot, ugh.
If you've ever felt sick at a blackjack table because of dumb decisions you make, that you know that feeling pretty well. So that's kind of how I felt. How about you, T? What's something that you've done that you wish you regretted?
Yeah, I do. I have a couple things. I was actually going to go with the first email address that I ever created, sexymexy69@yahoo.com. For some reason, I still use that for business ventures and other things. I got to get into Google and Gmail with that I do kind of wish that it never would have happened, but I realize that all the good stuff that has come from it. I have a good story. That was also the night you and I met, Sean. Very first night in the middle of Las Vegas, middle of the desert. And then something that everybody should know about me is I actually do partake in spirits, and this was one of those evenings. So I was, well dressed, had the whole Vegas attire on. Decided I was going to play a few hands of blackjack with my new friend Sean, and just sit at the table, nothing too crazy. $5 here, $5 there, and having a couple drinks, just chit chatting with my friends, telling some jokes. And I looked down at my hand, paying no attention to anything else in the world at that moment, and saw that I had a king four. I'll never forget. I had a king four. I was like, oh, well, this isn't going to do, because I'm assuming that the dealer has, I don't know, jack showing. So I hit, asked for another card. I can't remember exactly what it was. It was something stupid. It was ace four. I lied. It was ace four, and a king came up after that. Then I had 14, and I was like, you know what? I need more than 14 if I'm going to win this hand. So I would go ahead and take another card, get another king, 24, done and done. It's the stupidest thing. And I just throw the cards away because I'm like, oh, this isn't going to ever, come back to bite me in the butt. This will affect nobody else. Little to my knowledge, the dealer, I believe it was a 6 that was showing, if I'm not mistaken. There was a 6 showing, flips the card over, and, king 6. And then right after that, dealer takes a card, gets a nice looking 5, gets 21. Not only did I take myself down, but I took down the whole table like the Titanic. And there was a gentleman that was sitting across from me, sitting at first base while I was sitting at third base. And I think he had doubled down, maybe had, I'm going to go ahead and say like $3,700 or something like that on the table. But taking the whole table down, it was embarrassing. It was one of the first things that Sean saw in my life, but I did make up for it later because that was the night I was challenging you to bet all your money on one hand, and you did profit from that. But I'm pretty sure that guy is either deceased or poor now. So
yep.
waiting on that stimulus check. Yeah.
Yeah, that guy. So to take it just a step further, he didn't just double down. He had split twice and doubled down because the dude had 8. So he split, had 8, got an 8 again and split. He had 3 on 1, doubled down on that. On his other 8, he got an 18. On the other 8, he got an 18. So he was sitting pretty all the way across. And every single person at that table had either split or doubled down. I myself had doubled down because I think I had a 6-4. I think I had 10, something silly. And yeah, and T was right. The dealer did have jack. He had absolutely nothing. He had jack. And I don't think it was a 6 because that's a little higher on the risky side. I think he had something like a 3 or a 4. But definitely something where the dealer's going to need to hit. And T took not 1 but 2 plus cards. And the dealer got that nice old 21, and none of us pushed. All of us lost. And I was like, who in the world is this dude that I'm hanging out with? He didn't cost everyone at the table money. There was at least $500 or more exchanged in one sitting. And there was a collective groan at the table. It was quite loud. And my stepdad was actually a member of that table as well. He proceeded to take his stuff, didn't even say goodnight, didn't say goodbye. He spun around, reverse 180, pivoting blue Magnum or blue Steel style from Zoolander, and just walked away. And I'm sitting there going, you know what, I'm just going to sit here because we have a mutual friend that we're all kind of hanging out with. I don't know if I like this guy anymore because he did something silly just now. And he definitely knows better. He's supposed to be a smarter individual, and there goes all of our money. So, yeah, that's a good one. I like that, T.
Charles, I think you're muted.
All right. Well, it's time for us to wrap up. So it's 2:00 in the morning, and you're starving. Nothing in the fridge and nothing in the cupboards. You don't even have dog biscuits hanging around. You think about cooking, but then you remember the 3-alarm fire you started last time you tried using the stove. Well, check out 7-Eleven. There's got to be one right near you. They have everything from burgers to tacos 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Probably the same ones the entire time. 7-Eleven, think of it as your own personal walk-in kitchen. That's our show for this week. Thanks so much. Hope you never hear it.
Have a good day.